Hello, I am Prometheus. I'm having some connection issues today, so I thought it'd be a good time to dial in my sensitivities a little bit and make a video about it. Uh, Nothing too crazy in here. It's speed acceleration, it's pretty specific to that. I used the same method for fixed speed, but if you're using distance acceleration, I would probably find another video. I'm not a pro by any means. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. I'm just saying it's worked well for me and it's how I've always done it. So let's get into this. First thing, we're going to talk about a few of the settings. These are the only ones that you need to be worried about. Rotation mode, speed acceleration, whatever. Set your acceleration value to 0 to start. It'll help a little bit. Link sensitivity with resolution definitely needs to be off. And sensitivity switch, gradually switch while ADSing is what I've always used. It's what I was told to use when I started, and I've not tried the others. So I would recommend you do that. I don't know that it would change the process at all. So those are the settings you need to worry about. Next, you're going to want to set it to BR training mode. This is specific for BR, but it's the same process in M&P. Select no weapons. Hit the red X once you're in training mode. I go right here and I try to line up 180 degrees just over my right shoulder where my dot is in that shadow there and goes to that shadow there. I want them both to be just over my right shoulder. You may find that you want less than 180 degrees or more than 180 degrees, but if you're just starting, 180 degrees is a good starting point. The important thing is you're doing it in a comfortable swipe. I'm using forefinger whenever I play the game, so my movement to the corner of the screen is limited. You'll see that's why I left dots on where it shows my touch. If your thumb hurts to get to that position, that is too far. You can't aim that far and all that stuff. So you can see my path is somewhere close to the center of the screen and over at the edge of one of my firearms selection areas. So I use that kind of as a judge. So I'm getting a pretty consistent swipe each time because that swipe matters all the way through this. If you find out you're too high, if you're new to this, I would drop it 10, maybe 15 points at a time until you get close to where you want to be, and then raise it 2 or 3 at a time so you can dial it in exactly. This is not a super fast process, but I feel like it's one of the things that will immediately improve your gameplay. That was just me dropping the speed acceleration down to 0. I've tried to shoot this about 3 times and kept getting a phone call in the middle of it, so I decided to record the video separate and the audio afterwards. I'm dialing in. I'm getting closer. Still just a little bit over. But you can see my swipe is pretty consistent on the screen. I'm trying to hit the same swipe every single time while I'm doing this. And you will use that same swipe to set every single one of these weapons. That looks pretty good for free view sensitivity. In third person, anyway. And you may decide you want to dial it down 1, dial it up 1, or something like that as you go through. So you definitely want to get it as close to what feels right to you as you possibly can. I'm trying to make this video as fast as possible whenever I'm setting this, but I needed to reset my sensitivities anyway. It had been a while since I had done it. So this is actually me doing the process. Next is your acceleration value. Just run it up 5. You don't want to have to make a crazy swipe across the screen if you're using speed acceleration. That's the whole purpose of it. But you want to be able to consistently get 180 out of it in both directions. I can tell theirs pretty close. I raise it 2 at a time now to get him, dial it in exactly where I want it. For me, what I'm shooting for is half of my full distance of travel. It's clear by watching the video now that I didn't exactly get it with my acceleration value, so at some point I probably will raise that up later on. But next, you spawn a bot. You want close, high speed, front and back, I think, is the other setting. And once you have your bot spawned, you're going to want to just follow him back and forth. Try to keep your reticle on him. I like to put it on their shoulder and try to keep it between their head and their stomach. You're not going to be exact, but that'll help you set your vertical sensitivity. If you find out you're shooting over their head or down below their waist or something like that, you'll want to drop that number. Just on camera view, we got on firing sensitivity, it's going to be different. Most of these numbers are going to be somewhat copied to the next one, which I'll tell you how I do that whenever we get to that point. Right now, vertical sensitivity is the big one here. And if you find you can't follow him left to right, you probably want to raise or lower that number. If you're falling behind him, you definitely want to raise it. If you're running out in front of him and real jerky and stuff, you probably want to lower the number. Next, we're going to do the first person. That's just because I forgot to do it the first time. Whenever I was doing third person, I try to do those at the same time without moving my character. It aids in getting the right position every time, not having to completely reposition yourself. But first person, same process as third person. There's nothing special going on here that's different from how you said it before. Alright, now on to your red dot and tactical scope. You'll equip two AKs, put a red dot on the first one, tactical scope on the other, which is the 1.5 scope. Start with your red dot, and you'll line up the same way on here that you did whenever we were doing 180, except you want to be with the center of that target over your right shoulder there, and the center of the same spot here over your right shoulder. You want as close to a perfect 90 degrees as you can get. That's the reason for the positioning here. And you may find out you like your numbers lower than that, or you may find out you like them a lot higher. You may have to figure a different reference point. But 90 degrees is what I try to do on the tactical scope, red dot, and iron sights. I set the red dot and the iron sight exactly the same, so whatever this red dot number is, we copy that down to the ADS sensitivity after we get done here. Same process. Drop it by 10, 15 till you get in the ballpark, and then start dropping lower numbers till you can dial it in exactly. Want the same travel that you had for your 180 degrees. And you use the ADS button to do this. I should probably mention that. If you're running two finger, you may want to set all this on firing sensitivity, or temporarily add that button on the screen somewhere where it won't mess up your aim. I match this number to that number exactly. There's nothing magic there. They are the same, basically. Now we're going to do the tactical scope, which the tactical scope is counterintuitive, in my opinion. You would think, being more magnification than the red dot, it would be lower than the red dot number. It's not. I don't know why they set it up that way. But to get the same travel for the same distance, the number is actually higher on this scope than the red dot, anyway. But this is the same position you're going to use for the 3X and the 4X as well. I went ahead and included it because I had to set it. I don't use the 3X and the 4X, and very rarely do I use a tactical scope. But I like to try to set them as close as I can anyway, because you never know when you're going to be in a situation where you have to pick up an enemy's weapon and run with it. And I have been in that situation before. Same process. Dial it down by 10 or 15 until you get close. Then 2 or 3 to dial it in exact. Still too high there, but I am getting closer, so. I always recommend that you set your own sensitivities. Don't ever copy somebody else's sensitivities. It's not that hard to set them once you get the process down, and it's highly unlikely that you're going to have the same mobility in your hands, the same device and all that's the same connection as somebody else who has already set their sensitivities. Anytime you go onto a streamer's deal and they tell you this is the best sensitivity to use these numbers, don't listen to them. I feel like that's a absolute farce and a lazy way to tell people how to set their sensitivities. See my connection giving me a little fits there. But I'll show here in just a second the setup for both these bots. You're just close and far. I use the red dot for both, so I needed to be able to set them for both, and I needed to be able to track both. Tactical scope, same way. Here's the close and far settings for the bots. Next, we're going to go over here and equip a 3x on the first one and a 4x scope on the second one. We're going to set those sensitivities next. Exact same process as the red dot and the tactical scope, except my endpoint is different. I want it to be about half the distance, so a quarter turn instead of a half turn. Once I get lined up, I'll kind of point it at the area that I'm shooting for. I showed that line there, but it's actually where that bump out ends. You'll see as I go to actually do it. Right now we're way too high, so I'm going to drop the number a significant amount. Getting closer. Drop it another 15. I don't know if I did it in this video, but it's really easy to change the wrong values, so make sure you're paying attention to which number you're changing, because you'll mess up the number before if you don't remember it. I have done that several times. That's pretty close. But right there where that bump out ends, not the crack where the shadow where it begins. .4x to start, I just match the number of the 3x because I know it's going to be lower than that number. And at this point, I've done it long enough. I know for my purposes, it's usually about 10 different. So I could get pretty close without having to dial it in. If you're just starting, it may be a different deal. If you use the 3x and 4x a lot, you may want it set completely different. You may want a higher sensitivity or a lower sensitivity or something of that nature. The important thing to remember whenever you're setting your weapons up, especially for BR, is you will be using them at extreme close and extreme far away, unless you got weapons that are set up for long range and short range, and you know for a fact you'll never have to use that 3x up close. Here I do a far bot spawn for the 3x and the 4x, and I will share the medium bot spawn here whenever we get done with the tracking, but it's the exact same as the close and the far. It's just it's set for medium distance. But you just track them back and forth. Make sure it's good. You're not set too high or something of that nature. If you can track them, you're good to go. If not, you may want to increase or lower that number. Next, we're going to do the sniper rifle. I prefer the Locust or the Tundra. You pick whatever one you want. Doesn't really matter for this particular process. And here I don't really have a distance that I use. Here I drop the number till I know it's too low. And then I want to be able to just follow him and keep up with him on a farbot spawn, which is everything the same as every other farbot spawn that we've used. But I want to be able to track him at that far distance with him running fast, but just be able to do that. I don't want to be able to make crazy movements with my sniper rifle, and the reason for that is shooting people off of head glitches at long range. I don't like my sniper rifle being all crazy. I don't use a sniper rifle a whole lot in BR, so whenever I pick one up, I want to be able to make that precise shot that I wouldn't be able to make with my assault rifle. I also use Sync ADS FOV to scope zoom, so your number may look completely different from mine. I am zoomed out. Mine is actually closer to a 4x, somewhere in between a 3x and a 4x in zoom. But I do the same thing with the 6x with the Sync ADS FOV to scope zoom. It's slightly more, but not much. So whenever I do get this number set, I go to the 6x scope and I drop it 1 or 2 numbers. And there's nothing magical there. I don't use the 6x scope, but I want it somewhat set. So if I pick up somebody else's rifle and I'm forced to in a match, I can use it. And the 8x, as far as I know, it doesn't exist in the game unless they've added it on the SO or something like that that I'm not aware of. It hasn't existed for a long time, so I just leave that at 0. Don't even try to set it. But once all my numbers are set, I go down here and I go to copy them to my firing sensitivity. For a long time, I ran them exactly the same number as I had on my camera sensitivity. I've gotten to where I drop all the numbers except for my sniper scopes down 2 points. So if I'm running 139 on my steering sensitivity, I will drop that down to 137 on the next one. And then I do that on all of them with the exception of the sniper scopes. And it just, I don't know, makes me feel like I have a little more control. I don't know that there's a whole lot of difference functionally whenever I'm using it as there was whenever I had them set the same. As far as your ground vehicle and air vehicle sensibility, you are probably going to want to set that in game. I set mine to 125 because I like them a little more sensitive. I think that's a percentage of your either third person or steering sensitivity. So like I say, I set him to 125 on both of them. It's what I like. That's something you may want to toy with in game. I'm not going to cover that really here. The only thing you're not going to copy is going to be your vertical sensibility, which we're going to cover here in just a minute once I get all these numbers transferred over. I could have cut this out, but I felt like it shows what I mean exactly, and in the interest of being thorough, I went ahead and left it in here. If I screwed up on a number in the video, I'm sorry. I'll catch it later on in game. The only reason I was trying to rush through it to not make this video an hour long, because when I first started, it took me a good long time to set sensitivities, get it how I like it. All right, I have equipped the Bison. The Bison has predictable recoil and easy to control recoil. This is our vertical turning sensitivity on firing. I use it mostly for recoil control. So I slowly add the number 10 at a time, starting at 100, until I can keep it consistently, not necessarily in the 10 ring, but I set it back to 20 meters. I'm wanting to keep them in a good group in the center. Now I know what that number normally is for me. I always keep that number at 125. You may want to dial it in up or down or whatever. I strongly recommend you don't go any higher than 125, because whenever you have to snap to target while you're firing, there's two people run up on you. It does change the way it aims, and it will take some time to get used to. But the recoil control at distance makes it worth it. But you can see how little of a swipe I'm having to do now compared to when I started to keep that where I want it. What happened here? Oh, it's the AK. That's why. But that's how I set my sensitivities. That's as easy as I can make it. I hope that helps somebody out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Something else I wanted to mention and talk about here at the end of the video is something that not a lot of people really discuss. If your connection isn't somewhat stable, your sensitivities are not going to be consistent. I know that my numbers are substantially higher since I have switched to running my cell service as they were on my Wi-Fi, which was half the ping, half the MS. My sensitivity, I could get away with lower sensitivities. But when my connection's unstable, if I on one day and I'm playing at 40 ms, and then the next day I get on and it's 65 ms, it feels like it changes. It makes a difference. It may go without saying, it may be intuitive to some people, but I was not expecting that. So I wanted to tag that here on the end of the video and kind of let you know to prioritize your connection. If you feel like you're getting on every day and your connection and your sensitivities are a little different, they very well might be if your connection is having a lot of ups and downs with it. But again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helped you out.